Hello and welcome to the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. I'm the voice of the Bulldogs, Rob Bentley, along with Sandy Golston, as the Bulldogs get ready to host the Northern Michigan Wildcats this Saturday. Top Taggart Field Senior Day, 1 p.m. And Sandy, the Bulldogs coming off an impressive win, 38-31 over Grand Valley State in the Anchor Bone Classic.
Yeah, it was a big win for the Bulldogs, and they knew coming in that this is always a big game, and it's one of those games that both sides, you have it kind of circled, if not physically, in your mind coming into the season. And so we knew it was going to be one of those kind of games. We knew coming in that we were going to be playing a team that was hungry to try to do everything possible to keep themselves in contention for a GLIAC championship and to keep themselves in the picture for the playoffs. And so they came in and they played like that, and the Bulldogs responded really well. Bulldogs got off to a really good start, and they held off some good pushes throughout the game from Grand Valley and found a way to get a big home win in front of a great crowd.
Of course, you mentioned the crowd and an electric atmosphere, 10,000 plus fans, a sellout crowd, and nice to see those fans come out. Beautiful weather day, and really help cheer this team on to a victory.
Yeah, I think you could feel the energy, and I mean, we anticipated it, and it's kind of our jobs to anticipate it, and the staff that we have here in the department to really make sure that we're as prepared as possible. But until you really get in there and you felt it when we opened the parking lots and people started to fill the parking lots up, and the fans really brought tremendous energy. We had the D1 Rejects show that was on campus as well, and they had a great program. With very much a college game day type atmosphere. It just really added to what was already a tremendous game atmosphere, and that was a game that was certainly prominent not only in the GLIAC map but also on the national map as well.
Of course, Ferris State got a 38-31 win. The Bulldogs jumped out to a big lead early, 14 points early on in that ball game. Grand Valley State, though, never went away. The Lakers kept battling, and obviously it was a game that went down to the wire in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, Bulldogs got off to a 14-0 start, and so obviously if you're a Ferris State fan, you're feeling really good. Tariq Brett's on fire, and he's doing all kinds of things. Grand Valley comes back, and they get a touchdown, make it a 14-7 game. Bulldogs go up 21-7, and then Grand Valley comes back and they find a way to even it up, and the Bulldogs were able to get a slim lead at halftime. But and then it's funny, the first half was kind of an offensive shootout. Probably neither defensive coordinator was happy. And then the second half was both defenses kind of locking down and kind of a grinded out second half in the third and fourth quarters, but the Bulldogs able to get the win.
Of course, Ferris State, a couple big drives to end that ball game. They had a lengthy drive, 16 plays that chewed up a lot of time in that fourth quarter to get the score that put them up 14 points. Wyatt Bauer up the middle to make it 38-24. Grand Valley answers, though. The Lakers come right back and score, but the Bulldogs recover the onside kick and then a couple big plays to get the first down and really salt that game away.
That drive where the Bulldogs went up 38-24, that drive was huge because it was a 7+ minute drive. I don't remember the exact number, but it was like a 7-minute drive. And I think it really, in addition to finishing it off with a score, which is the most important thing, it really left a very small window for Grand Valley to be able to come back. And so, but give Grand Valley credit, they did come back, as you mentioned. They got the touchdown, but the Bulldogs, we see how much time they spent on special teams. We get a chance to see them in practice, and it really paid off there. They had the hands team on the field, and they were able to recover the onside kick and basically run the clock out.
Of course, we were out of practice today, and the Bulldogs already hard, right back at work and gearing up to face Northern Michigan this weekend. And you really got to maintain that one game at a time mentality, and you got to put that big win behind you quickly, as there's another opponent coming right in on Saturday.
Yeah, not only another opponent that's coming in, but an opponent that's a very, very significantly run-based offense, and so you're going to face a very different type of a team in terms of your defense to their offense. That the Bulldogs are going to certainly have to do a lot of preparation over the course of this week to make sure that they're ready. And then emotionally, you got to be ready to go. You're coming off a huge rivalry win. And so you got to find a way to recalibrate. Northern Michigan, on the other hand, they're coming off of a rivalry game as well, the Miners Cup game between them and Michigan Tech that was played up in the Superior Dome. They came out on the short end of that, but certainly an emotional game for them as well. So two teams coming in off of big rivalry games.
Of course, Northern Michigan, a program that's got better this season under head coach Shane Richardson. Hadn't won a game in a couple years, going back to 2022 until 2 weeks ago they defeated Roosevelt, and we kind of saw that coming. This is a team that's put up some points this year and a team that is kind of got better over the last couple seasons.
Yeah, well, we spend a lot of time in road trips, talking shop, and we saw that game and that there was going to be an opportunity for a Northern Michigan team that has, made some strides. They're playing with a little bit more confidence. They're playing better, and I went back and watched bits and pieces of their game against Roosevelt, and they executed really well against Roosevelt and got a big win. And so I think for them as a program, I think that was a big mark for them, a big milestone for them. It's been a 2.5 year struggle in a lot of ways, but boy, I tell you what, I think that probably helps them feel much better about the trajectory that they could be on.
Of course, today's show presented by Fox Motors of Cadillac and Reed City, along with Two Hats Ranch, and a busy show here today as we gear up for Northern Michigan this Saturday. It'll be Senior Day on Saturday, and a chance before the game, about 20 minutes before the game, to honor another outstanding group of seniors as they finalize the list, but some guys that really have had some championship experience here at Ferris State.
Yeah, I mean, when you walk in Top Taggart Field and you see the signage that says 3 national championships, you're going to see some seniors. You and I talked about this earlier. You're going to see some seniors that were a part of those 3 national championships in Ferris State history. And so it's a great opportunity to really honor them and the work that they have put in and the mark that they have made on the history of this program. And so looking forward to it. It's, we've been through so many of these over the years in different sports, but, senior days are always bittersweet because you're certainly glad to be honoring those seniors, but at the same time, it's sad to say goodbye, or at least getting close to saying actual goodbye.
Of course, some of those seniors last year, part of 3 national championship teams. Some of the seniors this year, part of 3 already, with a chance maybe to make it 4 if they can keep it rolling. A guy like Brady Rose, who has been such a big part here of this Ferris State program, and hopefully the fans come out and honor these seniors prior to kickoff on Saturday.
Well, they certainly deserve it, and Brady's just one of the guys that you mentioned right there, and you think about getting toward the end of your career, and well, I tell you, I don't know how many people at any level of college football can say that they walked away with even 1 national championship, let alone 2, let alone 3, and possibly 4. But obviously a lot of work to be done between now and then, but certainly a senior class that has already left an incredible legacy and a chance to add to it.
Brady, one of those guys, somebody mentioned it to me the other day, a couple high school championships on the state level as well. So
right.
He's had a lot of championships, and obviously that entire senior class has done so much really to help bring championships back to Ferris State.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to Brady, and you're exactly right. I think 5 total championships, 2 state championships, and 3 national championships, and so he's been a winner. And I think when you look at this senior class across the board, Rob, I think you see a lot of winners in this class. And that's what Coach Anise and the staff have recruited over the years. And when you recruit people that come from winning programs, that have good work ethic, that have a willingness to learn, the ability to learn, you can grow them into even better players. And I think Brady is just one of many examples that I think we could talk about, and many examples I think we will hear about on Senior Day.
Of course, Senior Day here this Saturday marks the final regular season home game for the Bulldogs, the 6th home game of the year. And, of course, this will be the final one until the playoffs. If the Bulldogs are able to, finish the regular season strong, you'd have to think they'll be one of the front runners to get a couple home games at the very least here in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the Bulldogs in these last 3 games have an opportunity to put themselves in position to get a home game in the playoffs, and if you from there, if you keep winning, then maybe you can get a few more home games. And so I think that's certainly the goal for the Bulldogs, to finish the regular season strong. But even before the playoffs, I think the Bulldogs would love to bring a 2nd straight GLIAC championship right here to Ferris State.
Of course, the Bulldogs right now ranked among the top 10 teams in the initial Super Region 3 rankings. They were announced this week in alphabetical order. The first numerical rankings will come next Monday. The Bulldogs expected to be right there near the top if they can get a win on Saturday. And obviously, Ferris State in position right now, the only GLIAC school kind of featured in the top 10 in the region so far.
Yeah, I think the Bulldogs are certainly carrying the torch, I think, right now for the GLIAC, and they come in with an opportunity to continue to hopefully make a long run. But right now it's the first glimpse that we have of the regional rankings, and certainly it gives us a starting point for where a lot of teams are. And I think for teams that are on the back end of that top 10, they are aware of the work that they may need to do, or some of the things that may need to happen above them that they can't necessarily control. And for teams on the outside looking in, you're trying to figure out what's our path trying to find a way into that top 8.
Of course, we've got plenty more coming up here on Bulldog Football as we talk over the next hour or so here on the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show presented by Two Hats Ranch. We'll look back to the win over Grand Valley State with the post-game press conference. We'll also check in with a couple players following practice earlier today, and head coach Tony Annese as the Bulldogs get ready to face Northern Michigan in what should be another big test here this Saturday, 1 p.m. kickoff at Top Taggart Field. We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show after this timeout here on the Bulldog Sports Network. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Big thanks to Fox Motors of Cadillac and Reed City as well. The Bulldogs coming off a 38-31 win over Grand Valley State in the Anchorbone Classic. Big win for the Bulldogs. Of course, a big rivalry game, and Ferris State able to find a way to come out with a win to stay unbeaten here at 8-0 on the season. More importantly, at 4-0 here in the GLIAC.
Well, and it was a team win for the Bulldogs for sure. And you know, we talked about earlier in that game, you could see that it was going to be one of those games for Tariq Brett, but it wasn't necessarily going to be in special teams because we could see the last 2 weeks nobody's kicking to him. They don't want anything to do with Tariq Brett back there in terms of the return game. But he has found a way to help himself be a factor in the Bulldogs offense in a variety of different ways. He was able to get a couple of touchdowns through the air and a couple on the ground. And so we keep calling him the electrifying Tariq Brett, and with good reason. He really, Rob, I think helped spark the Bulldogs early. And I think the defense, you know, Justin Payout and others really helped the Bulldogs kind of lock things down defensively in the second half.
They say big players step up in big games. Tariq Brett did that, 4 touchdowns in the first half of that ball game, doing it both on the ground and in the air. We saw the Bulldogs have to utilize some different weapons on the offensive side, minus Zach Ahern. No true running back out there. Tariq had to take some of the carries out of the offensive backfield. We saw Brady Rose. We saw Carson Gulker, all kind of involved here in the offensive scheme.
I think the Bulldogs were, you mentioned Carson Gulker in particular, I think the Bulldogs were very creative in how they got the ball in his hands, and he is a playmaker, certainly built very differently than a Tariq Brett or a Brady Rose, but it was really great to see the Bulldogs utilize Carson. And Rob, he had a banner game for the Bulldogs, and he had a couple of highlight plays. He had a high hurdle play on the opposite sideline in front of the Grand Valley bench. He had a big stiff arm or a big shoulder dip that ran over a DB, and so he really played a good game. He was quietly a very significant factor for the Bulldogs.
Of course, you mentioned as well the defensive side of the football, and the Bulldog defense kind of tested at times in that ball game, but stepped up, made the plays they had to, especially in the second half, did a better job of slowing down that Grand Valley attack, and obviously capitalized on a couple turnovers, one of them a big interception in the end zone from Justin Payout to kind of thwart a Grand Valley State scoring drive.
Yeah, the Bulldogs, you know, certainly have dealt with some personnel issues in the secondary, but I thought the secondary really stepped up in the second half. When you look at Grand Valley, they have certainly 2 high-end receivers that are 2 of the best that you're going to see in the country, and so you got those 2 guys that you got to contend with, and a quarterback that played with a lot of confidence for Grand Valley that was able to kind of spread that ball around a little bit. But I think in the second half, and we'll hear it from Justin Payout, Rob, from the press conference, but I think he talked about how they really locked in, got themselves back together at halftime, and then had a big second half.
It's not often you have 2 guys that come up for the post-game press conference inside the Wheeler Pavilion with Coach Annese, and both of them named the GLIAC Player of the Week. Tariq Brett named the GLIAC Offensive Player of the Week. Justin Payout named the GLIAC Defensive Player of the Week. And great recognition for those guys for their achievements in the win over the Grand Valley State Lakers.
And we talked about it, and I think deservedly so for both of those. I think in particular when you look at Tariq Brett, I mean, not only did he have a GLIAC Offensive Player of the Week game, I mean, he arguably had a National Player of the Week game in what he was able to do. And I think you look at Justin Payout, certainly his interception down the stretch was huge. Grand Valley was kind of moving the ball down the field, and he was able to get that interception in the end zone. And I think his leadership also on that back line for the defense is tremendous.
I think J-Pay also forced a fumble. He had a tackle for loss, 8 tackles overall in that ball game, so a big performance from both of those 2. We had a chance following the game in the post-game press conference at the Wheeler Pavilion presented by Granger Construction to talk more with Tariq Brett, along with Justin Payout, and of course the head coach of the Bulldogs, Tony Annese, after the Anchorbone victory.
Welcome to our post-game press conference here. We got head coach Tony Annese. We also got slot receiver Tariq Brett, and we also got DB Justin Payout here. Coach, can you give us an opening statement, please?
Yeah, what a war, huh? I mean, just so impressed the way Grand Valley came here and played. I mean, they just were they were relentless. They played so hard. Our guys played hard. It was just a hard-fought game. I think the 1,000 people that were here to watch it, according to ESPN, got their money's worth. So, no, I think there's a lot more people here. Yeah, there's a lot of people here, and it was just a really hard-fought game. I give Coach Wooster and his staff a lot of credit, getting their guys to come here and perform at that level. I was so impressed with our guys. It was a grind of a game. I thought that, they had one turnover, I think, and we had 0. That might have been the difference. We've done a great job of handling the ball. It'll be interesting in the film who won in the trenches. I'm sure that was a war too. And then last thing is, I thought that one of the guys, other than Rika on offense, but one of the other guys that's an unsung hero for us. I mean, I thought Wyatt was super, but the one unsung hero is Carson Gulker. Like, he made so many plays. And, we moved him to that position thinking, okay, he's probably an NFL caliber athlete. And if NFL players or if NFL organizations don't know about this player, they should start looking, because he's a legit athlete. So very impressed the way he played.
Coach, talk about the first, when people expect a shootout, it becomes a defensive struggle. You expect a defensive struggle, becomes a shootout. Well, talk about the message in the first half where both offenses really hit a groove. Yeah,
I thought for sure this was going to be a defensive struggle. I would have bet that, no, bet's a bad word this time of what's going on in life. But I would have said that, it was going to be a low-scoring affair. But they caught us a little bit. They caught us off guard with some things. They did really, Coach Shoemaker did a really nice job of keeping us off balance. And so that happens. Our defense will learn from it. And thank God that, we get to learn from something when it's a W, because a lot of times people don't have the good fortune of winning whatever you win straight, whatever we've won straight, without having that real lesson, So thank God we get a lesson, but it's still a W. But again, Grand Valley was great, and they really came here and played really good football.
And JP, what did you see from a defensive standpoint in the secondary? They've obviously got multiple great receivers, and it was tough in the first half because they had a lot of things going. What about you guys being able to kind of bear down in the second half? What kind of things did you guys do differently in the second half?
So I feel like in the first half, we kind of got in our heads a little bit and let the game take over in a way. But when we got back to the sideline in the locker room, we kind of told ourselves to just settle down and let the plays come to us. Don't press to make plays and stuff. The second half, that's what we did, and that's why I came away with a pick as well.
And Enrique, you obviously had a big game offensively, not only on the ground, but also through the air on the receiving end. Talk about a little bit what you were seeing out there. Bulldogs, the team did a good job of getting you in space and getting you the ball.
Yeah, my performance came from strictly my teammates on the offensive side doing their job and doing what they're supposed to do. So everybody out there blocking great. I'm just cutting off of them and reading off of them, and then, scoring a touchdown. That's all I was doing. Wyatt did a great job delivering the football, and, I did a great job just, making the catch. It's pretty simple. Then touchdowns just happen.
You had 4 touchdowns. What's it like having your biggest game in the biggest game of the year?
Honestly, it felt great, because all week I was telling my teammates that, after GV coming off that loss against Saginaw, they coming in here treating it like a must-win game. So, it felt good for me to go out there, do what I need to do to help the team win today.
Justin, that interception obviously was huge. What do you remember about it?
I just remember our coach calling man-to-man, and I was kind of the center fielder, and I was reading the quarterback odds, and I seen him let the ball go, and the rest was history after that.
Yeah, Tony, your thoughts about as you look at their quarterback stats, 23 of 39 for 347 yards. What are your impressions of him?
Yeah, I forgot about his interception. So they had 2 turnovers, star 0. I got to correct myself from earlier. But I thought Andrew played great. He's a redshirt freshman. For 2 redshirt freshmen, Wyatt Bauer and Andrew Schuster, to be in that situation under that kind of pressure. I mean, it's just high pressure. Everybody's making such a big deal out of Trinidad's pressure, and I get it. There's more people, but this is for our brand of football. This is like for the people in this area, it's like high pressure, and I thought Schuster was unbelievable. I thought their offensive game plan was awesome. I thought they played really well. Their receivers played well. They're obviously, they played 3 quarterbacks. It was a good game plan. I thought Brady Drogosh, 12 rushes for 62 yards. That's good football for them. And so I was impressed. I go back. I know this is stupid how much I go back, but in 2012 we came off a loss at Saginaw. And then we went to GV and we ended up beating them. It was my first year. And I was nervous about that. Like, they came off a loss against Saginaw. And then, we have to, we have to hold court here, and it's hard, man. It's hard, and particularly as well prepared as they were. Like, I kind of listened to Coach Wooster in a couple press conferences, and he said they had a lot of good Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursday practice. So credit to them. You come off a loss like that, that's hard to get them back. And so very impressed that they got their mindset to the degree that they could battle that hard. It was very impressive.
Tariq, you had those 3 touchdowns in the first half. Did you see Grand Valley try to make some adjustments to stop you or do anything to keep a couple of guys, 2 or 3 guys looking at you? Did you see them trying to change things around to stop you?
Are you talking about coming out of the halftime?
Yeah.
Nah, not really. Every time we play Grand Valley, they, stick to their game plan or whatever it may be, so it was more so us, T is very big on playing smart football, so it was no need for us to try to, keep giving me the ball, but, just run the time down.
TA.
Oh, I was thinking, yeah.
They call me TA, so people say TA, they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so, he's big on playing smart football, so, run the ball, let the time run down, let's get the W. So, they didn't really make no adjustments, really. I asked TA, I was trying to get the ball more, you know what I mean? Just because that's just me, the competitive nature in me. I just wanted to keep getting, rolling, make plays.
Coach, special teams played a key factor in today's game. Eddie Jewett made 2 key kicks and a couple of key punts. What did you saw from special teams today?
Yeah, we punted the ball well. I'm the punt coach, so that's the first thing I check. And, Mitch was averaged 43 yards on 2 kicks, and LeSean had a 56-yarder. And so we're a weird punt formation, but that's efficient. I thought the kickoff team did a really good job. We were scared to death, of their return guys. They're, they can both roll really well, number 1 and number 7. And so nervous about that. So, I thought special teams was really good. Kick return, we did a decent job of getting good field position. So, it's got to be all 3 phases in a game like this. Like, when the team plays that well, we got to play really well, and it's got to be all 3 phases. And that was the battle today.
And then last question for me, just D1 Rejects is here. Both fan bases really turned out. Great stage, great showcase for Division II college football in West Michigan. All 3 of you guys, just talk about playing in that atmosphere and the environment all around this game.
I'll start, but just, people, the fans want to make it a big deal, and it is for the universities, but for our team and for their team, their coaching staff, our coaching staff, like, to me, it's just a lot of respect. And I think it took a while for us to earn their respect because they were, the dominant program in West Michigan. But now I think, we both programs fight really hard. And for West Michigan to have those two programs and then add to Davenport. I mean, what a blessing for West Michigan, right? I mean, this is big time Division II college football, and there's two programs that are regularly top 10. And Davenport, Sparky's done a great job too. So it's like, what a blessing for West Michigan, and a beautiful day, and it's just a great day to celebrate football.
JP?
Yeah. I mean, it's always being from Miami and stuff. We don't really know about West Michigan football and stuff like that. But coming up here and
way better than Miami for sure.
I don't know about none of that. But yeah, I feel like this is really big for D2 football, and this is a blessing. This is really why we came here to Ferris State and to play games like this.
Yeah. So like JP said, being from down south, being from Georgia, coming up here playing, I know nothing about it truthfully. But playing in this game, coming to 21 and seeing how big the rivalry games was every year since I've been here, I always look forward to playing the way I played today in these big games. So it was awesome for me to be awesome for me to be the player to go out there and dominate today.
And that was our post-game press conference presented by Granger Construction following this past Saturday's Anchorbone Classic win. Ferris State defeats Grand Valley State 38-31, as we heard from head coach Tony Anise, along with Tariq Brett, the junior slot receiver from Jonesboro, Georgia, and Justin Payout, senior defensive back out of Miami Gardens, Florida. Those two kind of the leaders. What was a strong performance really from top to bottom for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think, when you look at coming into after the end of that game and the number of players that really had their fingerprints on this win, there were certainly a lot of them here that we could have brought up to Wheeler Pavilion. But those two, I think, very, very appropriate because of the impact that they had, not only individually in terms of the numbers and the statistics and whatnot, but also the spark that they provided on both sides of the ball for the team. So really great to see those two guys really speak to what was a great win for the program.
Of course, we saw the Bulldogs in that win have some big plays on both sides of the football. Jarvis Wyndham, a huge block. One of the Tariq Brett touchdown runs. You mentioned Carson Golker leaping over a defender to make a big play in the passing game for Ferris State. So certainly some big achievements by other guys as well, led by the offensive line and the defensive line here up front for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, you and I had a chance to talk to Coach Anise earlier today, and he talked about Jarvis Wyndham's play, and that clip is being shared on social media. Just great to see Jarvis get out in front, and that was a big touchdown that Jarvis was able to throw a huge block that helped free Tariq Brett for, I believe it was his third touchdown of the game. And so really that's the kind of effort that you look for from a senior leader like that to be able to make a big play. And Big Jarv certainly got out there and showed his athleticism. And Coach Anise made a joke about him maybe running out of the backfield. But no, we like Big Jarv where he is. He's doing a great job at center.
Of course, Jarvis Wyndham and Ferris State get the win 38-31. Coach Anise, you mentioned him. He improved to 13-5 in his head coaching career against Grand Valley State. The win, the 22nd in a row overall for Ferris State dating back to last year, and was the 24th in a row at Top Tiger Field going back to that last Grand Valley visit back in 2022.
Yeah, so just the mark of consistency that we've seen, from this program over the last couple of years when we think of the streak that the Bulldogs are on right now. And for Coach Anise, I mean, not too many people in the country can say that they have that kind of a winning record against that good of a program like Grand Valley. And so that really says a lot about what Coach has been able to do in the time that he's been here, going back to 2012. And so it's just really great to see. But I think, Coach Anise would be the first to talk about all the people that really contribute to the success of this program, that have contributed to the success of this program over the years, from the coaching staff down to the players that have all been a part of that success.
Of course, Coach Anise mentioned it in the post-game press conference, but what a rivalry, what a great game between two outstanding programs, and two programs that are bringing a lot of attention right here to college football in West Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, when you have two programs of that caliber, just a little over 50 miles apart from each other, representing this region. And then you throw Davenport, which has been a playoff team over the years and has certainly been a really good program. Of course, Sparky McEwen, we know, a Bulldog alum and a former Bulldog coach. He's done a really great job at Davenport to keep that. So you got three programs within about 60 miles of each other, and certainly Grand Valley and Davenport backyard rivals there. So that just says a lot about this region, and a lot of those players on those teams are coming from West Michigan. So it says a lot about football in West Michigan.
Ferris State, of course, a big win over Grand Valley State as the Bulldogs gear up to take on the Northern Michigan Wildcats this Saturday on Senior Day at Top Tiger Field. We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show after this break right here on the Bulldog Sports Network. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Thanks to Fox Motors of Cadillac and Reed City as well. Time to talk about what's going on in both the GLIAC and in the country here in Division II football. And, of course, the Bulldogs kind of had the attention this past week. All eyes really on Ferris State and Grand Valley State, both in the GLIAC and on the national scene.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, that was not only the premier game in the conference, but in the nation. I don't think there's really much disputing that. I mean, there's some big games that happened before and some big games that happened after. But I think, Ferris State and Grand Valley State has really probably moved into that top spot as the premier rivalry in Division II. And there's a lot of great Division II rivalries, but that one certainly has been and lived up to the hype on last Saturday. And it's even more special to us because the Bulldogs got the win.
Of course, as we move on to this week and we take a look at last week's results, we're getting down to that stretch where 3 games left here in the conference season. Every win going to be important here for the Bulldogs right now, kind of leading the way in the GLIAC along with Saginaw Valley State.
Yeah, I think these games are going to become huge, and we'll get to the games coming up this week, and there's certainly a significant game for the standings in terms of Saginaw Valley and Davenport that we'll get to at some point as well. But certainly Saginaw Valley, one of those teams, and Davenport put up some huge numbers in their game, but they helped keep themselves right there in the conversation. And so some big wins that we'll talk about.
Of course, this past weekend in the GLIAC, it was Michigan Tech winning the Miners Cup as they defeated Northern Michigan, this week's opponent, by a score of 56-17 inside the Superior Dome. The Huskies, after the loss to Ferris State, really put it together on both sides of the football against the Wildcats.
Yeah, they bounced back, and certainly when you come into a rivalry game like that one, you don't necessarily need a lot of motivation. It's just a less than 2-hour trip, between the two campuses. And, Michigan Tech came in and took care of business, really an offensive explosion for them, and certainly the kind of game that I think they needed coming off a tough loss.
Of course, around the conference as well, it was Davenport. I'm not sure if this was the case where Davenport found maybe the top offense around, or Roosevelt just didn't play that well. But in any case, Davenport puts up 75, a 75-23 win for the Panthers at home in Caledonia.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. Is the Davenport – I don't know. I have to go back and might have to go back and go on Flow Sports and watch it because that's an amazing number to put up by Davenport against a Roosevelt team that certainly has had some struggles this season, but that's a big win for Coach McEwen and Davenport.
And the final game, along with Ferris State and Grand Valley State, it was Saginaw Valley coming off the big win over the Lakers down in the Battle of the Valleys in Allendale. They go back home and they beat Wayne State 28-7. It was a little bit low-scoring game early on in that ball game, but the Cardinals able to put 4 touchdowns on the board.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of avoiding any kind of a letdown. And they kept the hammer down in terms of their speed, and they were able to power through. And maybe it wasn't necessarily the prettiest win, but at this stage of the season, you just want wins. And so for them coming off a big win over Grand Valley in a rivalry game, to not let up too much and find a way to take care of business against Wayne State, that's big for them.
This week in the GLIAC, 4 games again on tap. We've got Ferris State, of course, hosting Northern Michigan, a 1 o'clock start. 2 noon games coming up on Saturday. You mentioned the first one, Saginaw Valley and Davenport. That's going to be a game that has some huge implications here in the conference race.
Yeah, that's huge. And obviously Davenport putting up 75 points. They're playing better offensively. And we know typically Davenport's really good, or at least really solid to very good defensive team. And so, you would expect that if they can, they're probably not going to get 75 points again, in this game, or who knows when that'll ever happen again. But at the same time, it shows that they have some offensive confidence. And so it's going to be very important, I think, in particular for Saginaw Valley. They have to find a way to stay at a high level here. That's a really intriguing matchup. Of
course, Davenport, a team that plays well at home. That's 2 coaches that know each other very well. Both were part of the same staff here at Ferris State with Ryan Brady, Saginaw Valley as the head coach, and Sparky McEwen at Davenport.
Yeah, Coach Brady has really done a good job of kind of getting his team playing with a lot of confidence coming down the stretch. And, I don't know how many people really gave them a big chance to go into Grand Valley and come away with a win. Grand Valley had the edge in that rivalry, for I think most of the last decade, and so that was a big win for them. And so Coach Brady, who we know well, has had them playing really, really good football. And so this is a huge clash right there between these two teams as Saginaw Valley coming to Davenport, coming to West Michigan, and it'll be an interesting game to see how these two teams match up.
Michigan Tech will play host to Roosevelt. The Huskies, kind of a nice stretch here where they stay in the UP. Had the home game against Ferris State. They go on the road, the short road trip to Marquette to face Northern Michigan. Now back at home, hosting Roosevelt, and I like the Huskies in this one.
Yeah, I like Michigan Tech. Pretty strong in this one. I think that it's going to be one of those games where they could have a Davenport type game. I mean, they certainly have the weapons. When they're taking care of the football.
The other game, the final game we have besides the Ferris State game, it'll be Grand Valley State going on the road to Wayne State down in Detroit. And if the Lakers could play anywhere near the level they played last week against the Bulldogs, they should be a heavy favorite going into that matchup.
Yeah, they'll be a heavy favorite. We went and had a game against Wayne State last year where we won the game, but we didn't play really, really well, and they played a pretty solid game that took place over 2 days, and we've been down that road a few times. But certainly Grand Valley, they have to avoid obviously a letdown because there were a lot of implications from their game against us last week that really impact, I think, what they had as an outlook and some goals for the season. And so as long as Grand Valley avoids a letdown, and even if they do have a letdown, they still have more than enough talent and ability to win that game.
Of course, we can't look ahead. At least the teams and the players can't look ahead. We can a little bit, but you've got Ferris State and Saginaw Valley right now leading the conference, both at 4-0, and both of those teams are going to play each other next week in University Center. You got Michigan Tech and Grand Valley right behind. They play each other next week down in Allendale as well, so a huge week next week if these teams can survive and get through here this weekend's schedule in the conference.
Well, I think also, you look at Michigan Tech, as you mentioned, we have the luxury of being able to look ahead. If Michigan Tech, they get a win this week, and obviously they're heavily favored to get a win this week, then they get Grand Valley. They get a win over Grand Valley, maybe they're knocking on the door of the playoffs here. If they can finish the regular season, rest of the regular season undefeated, they might be knocking on the door of getting in the playoffs here. There's some road to hoe, so to speak, for them to get themselves in that picture, but they have opportunities ahead for them.
Of course, Saginaw Valley as well. You got to remember this year there's an automatic bid as part of the selection process. Yes. Of course, no more buys in the first round. They did away with the buys, added 4 teams to the playoffs, added some automatic qualifiers. So it's going to be a little bit different here as we approach the final couple weeks of the regular season.
Yeah, you're going to have to buckle up. And you mentioned it, Saginaw Valley still has an opportunity there as well. If they can find a way to get that conference championship, that certainly puts them in a really strong position. But, again, a lot of football left to be played, and there's going to be some big games coming down the stretch of this GLIAC race over the next 3 weeks.
Let's go to the Division II Top 25 scoreboard presented by D2Football.com. We had Tony Nicolette on at halftime, the GLIAC reporter for D2Football.com, part of their show every Sunday evening at 8 o'clock on YouTube and, of course, on social media. Going to the results, though, this past weekend, it was number 15 Findlay. They get a big win over Ohio Dominican, 27-20. That sets up a big matchup for them that we'll talk about a little bit later on with Northwood. Kutztown, number 3 in the country over Westchester, 41-7. It was Johnson C. Smith, number 21, defeating Winston-Salem State, 52-27. 11th ranked Minnesota Duluth, part of Super Region 3. Of course, out of the Northern Sun, defeated Mary, 54-32. Ashland, number 16, in overtime. Big win over Tiffin, 30-27.
Well, that's a big win. Overtime there. That was really kind of a pick'em game right there between these two teams. Tiffin, you gave, maybe some people were giving a little bit of an edge because they were at home, but huge win for Ashland.
Virginia Union, number 14 in the nation, defeated Bowie State 24-7. It was Albany State, big win, 31-3 over Benedict, number 23. And Albany State, one of those teams that is not ranked, but a team that is certainly in playoff contention.
They got to vote for me. Just come after that win. That's an impressive win right there over Benedict. I mean, they made Benedict pay the price there. And so really, that's just a huge win for Albany State.
Another big win for Ouachita Baptist. They defeated number 22 Southern Arkansas 42-14. Ouachita Baptist, a little bit of a slow start this year, but they're playing some better football here as of late.
Well, I tell you, those teams that are ranked 20-25, I mean, it's it just shows you how good so many teams are around the country, because there's been a lot of shuffling in both polls in that 20 to 25 spots there. And so Southern Arkansas, unfortunately for them, is the latest victim.
Also going on around the nation this past week, it was 10th ranked Augustana over Southwest Minnesota State, 57-29. Huge upset. Wayne State of Nebraska, not Wayne State of Michigan, but Wayne State of Nebraska defeats number 8 Minnesota State out of Mankato, 35-20 out in Wayne, Nebraska. So a big win over a potential playoff team in Minnesota State.
Well, it's a 15-point win, for the Nebraska Wayne State team. No, I don't think very many people had that on their radar. That's a massive win right there against a top 10 team.
Also, this past weekend, big game down in the Gulf South. It was number 19 Delta State defeating number 17 West Alabama, 41-38. West Alabama, a couple tough games in a row with West Florida and Delta State.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was another game that you felt was kind of a pick'em. And Delta State is a team that maybe wasn't quite as high on people's radar coming into the season, but they have been playing some really good football. That's an enormous win for Delta State.
Number 2 ranked Harding continues to roll along with the Bulldogs. They defeated Arkansas Monticello 55-0. A team that's maybe been the surprise here in Division II football. Judging by their history, you wouldn't call them a surprise, but maybe based on what they've done here in recent years, Northwest Missouri State, number 12 in the nation, defeats Nebraska Kearney 14-0.
Yeah, what a resurgence for the Bearcats. I mean, last year they had a struggle of a season last year, and I think as a result they didn't get as much respect coming into this season, but they have earned it over the course of this season. That's a solid win there, as they were able to get a win over the Lopers. So good win for Northwest Missouri.
Number 4 ranked West Florida defeated West Virginia State 55-6. It was a great second half for Western Colorado, number 5 in the nation. They defeated Colorado Mines 40-17. It was Emory and Henry falling to number 24 Newberry 36-34. Texas Permian Basin, ranked 18th in the country, defeats West Texas A&M 22-6. Central Washington, now number 7 in the nation, defeats Midwestern State of Texas on the road 56-13. And finally, Angelo State, number 20 in the nation, over Sol Ross 62-0. Battle in the Lone Star. When you look at Permian Basin, Central Washington, Angelo State, all potential playoff teams that still have some tough games remaining.
Yeah, there's a lot to sort out, and that's a challenging region to say the least. And so there's going to be a lot that we're going to be looking ahead to as we get ready for the playoff picture, man. But these, they've shuffled the super regions, and I think instead of maybe one really good super region, I think now we probably have 2 really good super regions. And so I guess from a standpoint of trying to get a little bit more balance, they probably achieved that. But Super Region 4, pretty tough.
Let's go around the country here this week. Matchups involving ranked teams. Number 13, Virginia Union will be at Bluefield State on Saturday. Number 3, Kutztown playing host to East Stroudsburg. Big matchup right there in the PSAC. And we mentioned this one. Number 24, Northwood. Of course, a team that's in the national rankings for the first time this week in some time. They play host to number 14, Findlay, and perhaps the biggest game of the year here in the Great Midwest Athletic Conference.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Northwood, get a game of this magnitude where they've been ranked and another team has been ranked. Findlay, of course, coming in undefeated. Northwood just 1 loss. Northwood does have a win over Saginaw Valley. That win maybe looks even more impressive right now. And so that's going to be a big national game, even though, people haven't necessarily looked at the GMAC in that way. But I think this is a pretty signature game for that GMAC conference.
Of course, another team that figures to be in the playoff picture in Super Region 3, number 12, Indianapolis, returns to action after a bye week. They'll travel to Quincy out in Illinois. It'll be number 22, Albany State. We referenced them earlier, just entered the national rankings this week. They play host to Savannah State. Newberry moves up to number 20 in the nation. They will go on the road to Anderson of South Carolina. Ashland up to number 15 will play host to Walsh. That's another big game in the Great Midwest Athletic Conference.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one. Walsh is a team that's been pretty solid, and they can upset you if you're not on your game. And Ashland, coming off an overtime win over Tiffin, they need to come in and take care of business against Walsh.
California, Pennsylvania will play host to number 25, Frostburg State. It's number 19, Johnson C. Smith, going to Fayetteville State. Minnesota State falls to number 21 in the country. They will play host to Southwest Minnesota State. It'll be number 23, West Alabama, another tough test. They go on the road to Valdosta State, which despite all of the losses, a team that's been competitive in a lot of ball games this year.
Yeah, Valdosta is a scary team. They don't have the record that they want, but they can, on a good day, they can get you. And I think that's what West Alabama has to be careful of. That is a dangerous game for West Alabama.
Also, this week, it'll be number 9, Augustana, playing host to Northern State. Big game in the Northern Sun. Number 10, Minnesota Duluth will travel to Jamestown. It'll be number 17, Texas Permian Basin, on the road at Western New Mexico. Northwest Missouri, number 11 in the country now, will visit Emporia State in the MIAA. Also in the MIAA, it'll be number 6, Pittsburgh State, continuing to roll. They will play host to Missouri Southern. Colorado State Pueblo, number 8, at number 5, Western Colorado. Big game out in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference.
Enormous game between the two teams that are playing really, really good football. And the one we're going to talk about after this one is a big game as well. But when you think of the RMAC, that is a huge game, not only with RMAC championship implications, but also playoff implications.
3 games remaining here on the top 25 scoreboard, and 2 of them matchups between top 20 ranked teams. The one that is not is Harding, number 2, playing host to Oklahoma Baptist. But the ones that are, the one you just mentioned, number 4, West Florida, will go on the road to number 16, Delta State. And then you've got number 7, Central Washington, playing host to number 18, Angelo State.
Man, how many good games do we have on the slate here in the top 25? And, West Florida, I think they've been up near the top of the national rankings, and they certainly recruited very well, and they've played really well throughout this season. I think Delta State, we mentioned a little bit earlier, they have really come on since the beginning of the season. That's a huge win going into the Delta for West Florida to play Delta State. So that's going to be big. And in Angelo State and Central Washington, I think a lot of people are looking forward to this test. I think to kind of see where Central Washington is. Where they are right now is in the top 10 in the nation, and they didn't get there by accident. But long trip for Angelo State going to Central Washington, but I think in that conference there's a lot of long trips.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show presented by Two Hats Ranch after this timeout on the Bulldog Sports Network. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Thanks to Fox Motors of Cadillac and Reed City as well, as we hit our final segment here and talk more about this matchup with Northern Michigan this Saturday. The Bulldogs play and host to the Wildcats. 1 p.m. kick with Senior Day activities scheduled to take place about 20 minutes before kickoff on Saturday. Another big game here, final regular season home game here for the Bulldogs.
It's crazy. I mean, it doesn't feel like. I mean, the weather does feel like we've made it to this point of the season, because the weather is nowhere near where it was when we went out to those first practices of preseason, and so the weather's definitely gotten a lot cooler. But at the same time, it's just hard to believe that we're right here at the last home game of the regular season and getting ready to celebrate our seniors. But this is certainly a worthy celebration for a senior class that has had a huge impact on this program. And many of these seniors, if not all of these seniors, have been a part of 1 to 3 national championships.
Of course, we had a chance after practice here actually earlier today to talk with head coach Tony Annese to talk more about both the win over Grand Valley State, the matchup against Northern Michigan, and, of course, that senior class, as you mentioned, here following practice today with head coach Tony Annese. Here with head coach Tony Annese following practice today. And, Coach, what's it been like being back on the practice field here this week after a big win on Saturday?
Yeah, it's always better to come to the practice field after a W, right? And so felt really good. Just, looking back, what a challenge, right? And having such a great group of, fans here to support us. And so it was a great deal last Saturday. And obviously, being victorious is the biggest goal you have, to keep on fighting for some of the things you want, from a season. So it feels great. And then we're back at it and very spirited. The defense is kind of ornery because they were kind of mad at the way they played. So they've been locked in. And the offense just keep on hopefully rolling.
On the offensive side, you guys jumped in front of them early with a couple big scores. How important were those 2 scores early in the ballgame?
I thought really important. I thought that Wyatt played great. Carson's become such a crazy weapon, and we don't even know, half the time where people are playing now. We've moved so many people around. Reek and Brady have been super, and so obviously the O-line we knew was going to be good, and I know you had Jarvan, but how about that block in open field? I mean, he's running so fast. We're like, maybe we should put a skill number on him and let him be a running back or something. But pretty incredible to get ahead like that, and then just keep on making plays when we had to make plays to win the game.
This week, taking on the Northern Michigan Wildcats. What have you seen from them? Of course, they got a big win a couple weeks ago, their first win in some time.
Yeah, they've done a really nice job of growing that program. Coach Richardson's a super guy, and they're trying to run the ball, and that's how we were when we started here. We basically were, Jason cries about how many carries he got, but he couldn't throw it. And we couldn't really block, so that was our only hope. So he had to have a lot of carries, so he should stop crying about that. But we couldn't throw it early in our time here, and we wanted to run it and try to control things. And that's how they're doing now. Not to say they can't throw it, but they're definitely a run-based system. And then, defense, they play really hard, always have. So it should be fun.
Of course, it's senior day. Maybe just talk about what this senior class has meant to Bulldog football as you get a chance to honor them.
Yeah, some of them have 3 national championship rings. They've meant so much to us, and I guess most all of them have 3 championship rings, unless they were a transfer coming in. But great group of men. So proud of them, and so proud of the impact they've had in our program, and just leaving extraordinarily unbelievable legacy. Right now we just take it for granted, it's just who we are, and that's how we roll. But later as you reflect back on what you achieved, I was just talking to Jossie about this, but it's just so unbelievable, and so impactful, and it's just such a great feeling to have young men that just have given their heart and soul to this program and achieved so much. So I'm not going to get too emotional because we have 2 games after that on the road, and then hopefully we get a second season. But, there's a great group of young men that are playing their last regular season game here at Top Taggart. So hopefully we have a great crowd to support them.
Coach, thanks for the time, and best of luck this week.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Rob.
And that was Ferris State University football head coach Tony Anise here on the Bulldog Blitz football radio show. The Bulldogs taking on Northern Michigan this Saturday. And as Coach Anise mentioned, you got to be ready to go each and every week. And it's time to refocus and look toward a new opponent here this Saturday for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think the Grand Valley game is gone, and it's you won, but now you got to move on, and you got to approach this with the same focus, the same intensity, the same execution that you had against Grand Valley. You took care of the ball last week. You got the stops that you needed down the stretch. You got the scores that you needed. You got off to a good start. And I think the Bulldogs have to carry all that at least into this game against Northern Michigan. They have to approach Northern Michigan the same way they would approach any other team that they're going to face. And that's what the Bulldogs have done a remarkable job of in this stretch that we've talked about.
Of course, for the Bulldogs, if you're able to refocus on an opponent, you're probably in a week like this going to focus a lot on the running game if you're Ferris State and really establishing the line of scrimmage. And we had a chance to catch up with one of those offensive linemen, senior Jarvis Wyndham, to talk more about Ferris State football and, of course, what the Nasty Boys are doing up front here for the Bulldogs. Here following practice today with Jarvis Wyndham. Jarvis, first of all, what was it like getting that win on Saturday over Grand Valley?
Felt good, hard-earned win. Guys fought to the end. Nobody ever gave up. We never had a doubt in our mind that we was going to lose that game. So it was great.
You're getting a lot of attention. That big downfield block that sprung Tariq free for a touchdown. What'd that feel like? And as you get a chance to go back and watch it on film?
It felt good. If you see towards the end, I kind of spazzed out. It just felt great. I didn't know what I was doing, but it was a great block downfield for Reek. Reek read me well, and he got the touchdown.
How important was it for you guys to come out early and really jump on them with a couple scores early on in that ball game?
Yeah, it was very important. We always say come off the line and hit them in the mouth first play of the game, and that's exactly what we did.
Obviously, you guys move forward now. What's practice been like here the last couple of days as you gear up for just another week?
Yep. So we got the next opponent, Northern Michigan. So we got them on the clock, and that's our main focus, and just worry about the Dogs.
How important is it for you guys to continue to get better and better each and every day you're out here?
It's very important. We got to get better every day. We got to get better than we was last week. So the more we progress, the better we get.
As an offensive line, the Nasty Boys, you guys kind of take it upon yourself to really control and dominate at the line of scrimmage?
Yep, so we got to always dominate the line of scrimmage no matter who we go against. We're going to be very physical and be nasty up front.
Back at home this week to take on Northern Michigan. What was it like playing in front of that big crowd last week?
It was pretty good, pretty loud. It was a lot of people here. Even the other side was filled up, so it was pretty exciting for us.
Well, Jarvis, thanks for the time and best of luck this week.
Appreciate it.
And that was Ferris State University football senior center Jarvis Wyndham. Of course, had a big ball game. That block was impressive that we had a chance to ask him about. That's out there on social media for fans to find, and one of the great blocks you're going to see. But I think for Jarvis, just more importantly, he was happy to get the team win and really get that win and hold on to the Anchor Bone Trophy.
Yeah, I think Big Jarv is a team guy and one of the leaders of that Nasty Boys group up front. And I think that play, that highlight play, I think it really speaks to the kind of play that we've seen from that offensive line and from him. And, he has really grown into that leadership position. And, you and I heard from Coach Anise going back to the preseason, and he talked about Jarvis emerging as a leader for that team. And those are the kind of things that leaders do. They put it all out on the line. He was able to get out in front through a huge block to get Tariq into the end zone. And so just a great team play from a great team guy.
Of course, another team guy, Marquis Jones. We had a chance to interview him as well. But before we get to that interview, I think we referenced it a couple times. This day and age, it's easy to go in the transfer portal, but Marquis Jones, one of those guys that played behind some of those great Bulldog defensive linemen of the past, and the Bulldogs very confident in what he could do, and he's came in and really helped solidify the inside of that defensive front.
Yeah, and he stayed, and he wants to be a part of this. And when you look at that defensive interior, and you think of last year having Victor Nelson, you think of having Deron Irving Bay in there. There's some big shoes to fill, literally some big shoes to fill with those two guys. But you look at guys like Marquis and others that have really done a great job in the middle of that defense. That has really been a huge key to the success of this defense, being able to control the line of scrimmage against a lot of teams that want to run the ball. And you're going to certainly see a team in Northern Michigan that really wants to run that football.
We had a chance here to talk with Marquis following practice here this afternoon. Here with Marquis Jones following practice today. First of all, what's it been like just being back out here on the practice field after a big win this past weekend?
It's been electric, bro. Just trying to find ways every day to keep getting better, We come out here, we just focus on ourselves, and we do the right things the right way. So just keep trying to advance through the week.
For you, what's this season been like, just playing a key role up front on that defensive line?
It's been me trying to just roll into the starter role because, I'm just trying to fill the shoes that the guys left behind. You know what I'm saying? It was some big shoes to fill, Victor Nelson, Deron Irving Bay, Jordan Jones, them type of guys. And I just watched them all my years from being here and soaked up so much knowledge that I'm just trying to get it and go.
Of course, this past Saturday, you guys really stepped up when you had to. Big fourth quarter in the second half where you kind of slowed down Grand Valley in that ball game.
Yeah, we went back to the locker room and kind of had a little identity crisis, so we just got that under wraps and then came together as a whole defense and played more sound football in the second half, and which was our goal in the beginning of the game. But things don't work out how you want them to all the time, so we just happy that we came in and still tried hard and finished.
How important is it for you guys to put that one behind you now and get ready for another opponent with Northern Michigan coming in this week?
It's very important. Like we say, our coaching staff tell us all the time, each week it's like we go into the game like we facing the same opponent. We working on bettering ourselves and not taking nothing for granted from no one. So, as long as we keep putting our best foot forward, we're going to keep succeeding.
Of course, Northern Michigan, a team that likes to run the ball. How important is it going to be for you guys to kind of control the line of scrimmage here early in the ball game?
We got to be physical. We got to be fast, and we got to play low. It's just simple as that. And, a lot of our D-line already know a lot about that. So we've been doing a little board drill at practice, getting back into it. I ain't did that stuff since high school, so I'm ready to go on Saturday.
I know you guys 3 games left in the regular season. Just how important is it to take this kind of one game at a time if you hope to achieve some of your goals?
Yeah, man, just one game at a time, bro. Keep finding ourselves and keep trying to become that full defense. We haven't played our best ball yet, believe it or not, on the defensive side of things. So we're just trying to go week by week to keep bettering ourselves so we can be the best team, the best defense in the nation.
Marquis, thanks for the time. Best of luck coming up on Saturday.
Thank you.
And that was Ferris State University football's Marquis Jones talking about the Bulldog defense as Ferris State gets ready to host Northern Michigan this Saturday. Of course, that defensive front for the Bulldogs has been very dominant for most of the season, and they're going to be needed here not only this week, but as the Bulldogs kind of move ahead here through the final 3 weeks here of the regular season.
Well, there's no question about it. I mean, they're going to continue to have to play a huge role, and they have. And you know, we talked about them filling some big shoes, and there's some more of this ahead. You know, and you think of this game coming up against Northern Michigan, you're facing a tremendously run-heavy team in terms of what Northern Michigan likes to do. So you're going to have to not only be physical, you're going to have to be very disciplined, you're going to have to be very smart, you're going to have to have studied your film and be ready for what Northern Michigan's going to throw at you coming up. And then you look at the games that are ahead after that. Again, we have that luxury. The coaches are not necessarily doing it as much as we are, but you're going to face, you know, another team coming up, you know, in Saginaw Valley that gives you more of a balanced look, but they like to run as well. And so it's going to be really important coming down the stretch for this defensive line to continue to play good football.
Senior Day this Saturday, 1 p.m. at Top Tiger Field, part of a busy weekend. Of course, tonight, Ferris State men's basketball exhibition game at Wink Arena as the Bulldogs play host to Calvin University. Tomorrow night, we'll have radio coverage for you as the Bulldog women's basketball team travels to face the Michigan Wolverines at the Chrysler Center in Ann Arbor. Pre-game coverage at 6:30 with, of course, the opening tip at 7 p.m. Then on Friday night, it'll be Bulldog hockey. We get a chance to call that one as well. Ferris State hosting Lindenwood in Game 1 as we sit in for Brody Kaiser on Friday night. Saturday night, Game 2 after Ferris State football, of course, the Bulldogs hosting Lindenwood. Brody and Brandon Worth will be back for that one on Saturday night. So part of a busy weekend here involving a lot of the Ferris State teams both in the fall and the winter season.
So you want to be a broadcaster. You know, you're calling women's basketball, then you're calling hockey, then you're calling football, all in a matter of days. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to go down to Chrysler and to see, you know, this game against Michigan, and you know, it's going to be a lot of fun to see that game. And looking forward to being on the air for Bulldog hockey. That's been a lot of fun, and you and I think, are going to be our second time calling Bulldog hockey together, and so, or third time, I don't remember. But you know, that's going to be a lot of fun, and obviously we get back into the booth at Top Taggart to be able to call Bulldog football.
Of course, Ferris State final home game of the regular season. Tickets on sale now. FerrisStateBulldogs.com/tickets. Had a huge crowd last week, hoping for a lot of fans coming out this Saturday. The weather still looks pretty good here as we hit the month of November, and hopefully the fans get a chance to enjoy kind of one of the last go-arounds before winter, I'm sure, will finally hit here in West Michigan.
Yeah, and an opportunity, you're right, to enjoy the weather as good as it is right now, because hopefully the Bulldogs will have earned the privilege to continue to play when the weather gets really bad in the next month or so. But, you know, hopefully fans will come out, Rob, and really, you know, pay tribute to this senior class. I mean, I think this is a senior class that has had a tremendous impact on this program. That's created memories that'll last us a lifetime, memories that'll be in the records for a lifetime. And so hopefully the fans will come out and really pay tribute to these seniors.
Of course, big thanks to Steve Masters at Sunny 97.3, along with all of our advertising partners for making this broadcast possible, including Two Hats Ranch, along with Fox Motors of Cadillac and Reed City. Final thanks to the president of Ferris State University, Dr. Bill Pink, athletic director Steve Brocklebank, our entire game day staff, our communications team as well here at Ferris State University. It'll be the Bulldogs and Northern Michigan this Saturday, 1 p.m. We'll have all the pregame coverage for you starting at 11 a.m. from the Wheeler Pavilion at Top Taggart Field as the Bulldogs and the Wildcats will battle it out here in conference play. Ferris State looking to stay on top of the conference standings with a win on Saturday.
Yeah, that's big. And you know, again, that first goal for the Bulldogs is to win a GLIAC championship, and this is the next game in that path. And so you can't win the GLIAC championship in any 1 week, so you got to just keep going game by game by game. Next up for the Bulldogs is Northern Michigan in their road to what they hope will be a GLIAC championship.
That'll do it for the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Join us again next week as well for more coverage of Ferris State football each and every Wednesday night throughout the season. This has been Bulldog Football right here on Sunny 97.3 and the Bulldog Sports Network.